but it wouldn't be nothing, nothing without a woman or girl. Ooh, you see, man made the car to take us over the road. Man made the train.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Purpose and passion loading. It's my time.
Happy Friday, family. What's going on, gentlemen?
Man,
What's going on? What's going on?
It's been a really busy Friday, bro. Like, it's been ridiculous. I don't know what's happening. Sorry.
It's all right. We got a few seconds to get it together or not.
Sorry, folks. We live. Sorry, folks.
Listen, let make no mistakes about it. This is real life, live matters. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the King's Cutting Board Podcast. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. We always like to start by thanking you for taking the time out, whether you're listening to live or whether you're checking us out via playback. We realize you could be doing anything with your time. We don't take it for granted that you choose to spend a little bit of time with us. It is our express hope that after doing so that you get some value about what it is that we're talking about. And so to that end, us three gentlemen, along with our executive producer, we came together because we wanted to provide an experience, some dialogue, if you will, gentlemen, that was outside of what most of the world and social media is specifically talking about, especially as it pertains to relationships, especially as it pertains to relationships between men and women, and specifically as it pertains to relationships between Black men and Black women. Mm-hmm. We hear, we see, we experience, right? So much of the dialogue that's so overly negative, right? About what men are, what we won't do, about what women are, what they won't do. And we wanted to create a dialogue that caused men and women to lean in to one another, to talk to each other instead of at each other. Gentlemen, sometimes it's funny.
Sometimes
it's serious.
Sometimes
we get real passionate and we pound on the counter and we get in trouble. But please know, what we will never do is put content out there that's just clickbait, that's sensationalized for the sake of what everybody else is talking about. It will always be with the intent to draw us closer to one another and positively impact how Black men and Black women relate to one another. And so with that said, very quickly, my name is Victor Vaughn. The gentleman to my left goes by
Bruce Bailey, aka Choir Boy.
And the gentleman all the way to the left,
Caprice Davis, aka Don Chico.
I don't know we in for today. Caprice was on time.
He was.
He got a cardigan on.
Yeah.
He laced and suited and booted.
I don't know what's happening. I like it. No complaints here.
It's going to be fun. And so the topic this evening, gentlemen, I'm interested to get into this one.
Yeah.
And so just to give you all a quick peek behind the curtain, actually, let me back up before I get in trouble. Let me make sure I fulfill the desires of our executive producer, Coach Princess D. If you will, please take a moment. Don't just like, don't just share, but also follow. You all can find this on Facebook at the Kings with apostrophe S, Cutting Board Podcast, and also on YouTube at the King's Cutting Board 2024. Again, please like, please follow, please share. The more people that are listening, the more people we believe we can positively impact. And so this evening's topic, gentlemen, what our audience may not know is that generally our executive producer picks a topic, tells us what we're going to talk about, right?
Literally.
And we have, sometimes we'll bounce ideas or videos off one another, but we don't have a whole lot of dialogue before we actually come together and sit in front of the camera. And so I don't know what these gentlemen are going to say, what perspective they may bring, but that's the beauty of what we do. They are three kings, diverse perspective. We believe we are men's men talking about the things that impact us in a way in which men generally do not. Often men disassociate themselves from their feelings. We don't get into our likes, our loves, our desires, let alone our fears or our insecurities.
Definitely.
True.
Definitely.
And so that brings us to this evening's topic. We're going to talk about insecurities and specifically how they impact relationships. The gentleman in the middle, he's always our point guard, right? He always does this phenomenal job of framing, bringing context to what it is that we're going to talk about. So by all means, brother, lay it out for us this evening, how we're going to approach this thing.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to talk about this. Doing my research, I've discovered some things that I was even unaware of.
Okay.
Myself and Dow was having a conversation, and we was like, I think everybody has some sense of insecurity.
I would agree.
Definitely.
Or stuff, they're insecure about something.
Yes.
Right. And we're going to talk about the types
Yes.
of insecurities, but they're insecure about something, right? It's just like it's a human experience.
I agree.
But what I find amazing about that is that most people, when they hear the word insecurity, it's almost like a disease that they feel as though they got to run away from.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Good.
Here's what I need you guys to understand. I was doing some research, and here's what I discovered. According to a report by the United Nations Development Program, approximately, watch this, guys, 6 in every 7 people worldwide struggle with feelings of insecurity. Six of every
I
7,
can actually see that.
Yeah.
right?
After doing the research
Yeah.
and looking into it, I could actually see that. Because it's a lot that didn't.
It's a bro.
I would have never guessed.
85% of the population.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's higher than that.
It
But
is.
we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But
I'll go with that.
here's the other interesting thing that I found out, because most times we have a discussion around females being insecure,
Yes.
when contrary to popular belief, they're not too far off in terms of the percentage of men versus the percentage of women
I believe that too.
that face insecurities.
I believe that too.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I say all that to say it's not gender.
It actually is.
It's not a gender concept or gender topic. It's
not
something that we
gender-based, right.
all
Right.
deal with,
Right.
right? So let's define this thing. Y'all always know I talk about the power to define is the power to fulfill, right?
Right.
So before we get into it, let's talk about this definition, so we can better understand these insecurities. Insecurities are feelings of uncertainty or self-doubt of oneself,
Good.
right? Now, the thing I want to point out as we get into this conversation is this feelings piece,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
It's an emotional, it's an emotional component that we all sometimes access, right?
Mhm.
When it comes to feelings, I think what we got to understand about feelings is that they're not always reality.
Not.
Right?
Absolutely not.
So while we may feel a way,
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it is.
Feelings aren't facts.
Feelings are facts.
It's true.
And that's what's incredible about this whole insecurity piece, right? The common causes for insecurity include childhood experiences, social comparisons, and unrealistic standards set by media and or peers. Even to the point where some people struggle with insecurities because they're perfectionists.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So-
we got folks raising their hand. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we got to understand about it, right? And before we get into really the meat and bones, I want to talk about 5 things you can identify in an insecure person.
If I can,
You can.
I want to add to your definition.
Yep.
I'm a very literal person, right? And so I love what you said about feelings, right? The one I wrote down was uncertainty or anxiety.
Yes.
About oneself.
Oneself.
Which is critical. It was the one that stood out to me though. Again, I'm a literal person. And this definition of insecurity is more attached to physical matters, but I believe it's pertinent to us. So you think about your home can be insecure, right?
Mhm.
If you don't have an alarm or the door is
Yep.
open or a window might be broken. And so it's the state of being open to danger or threat, lack of protection.
Yes.
And what my literal thought was how our feelings can literally make us open to threat, right?
Yeah.
Or-
Unprotected.
Or unprotected
Yeah.
of our own.
Yeah.
It's like we leave our own door open
Yeah.
because we're betrayed by our feelings.
Yeah.
But go ahead, by all means.
Quick thing.
Yep.
So I was looking at my page a few minutes ago about insecurities and the origins, along with the definition, where is it coming from, things of that nature.
Mhm.
And like you were saying, past childhood issues, things of that nature,
Mhm.
trauma, abuse, neglect, things like that,
Mhm.
which in turn lead to self-doubt, basically.
Facts.
Mhm.
So you start questioning your ability. You started questioning how you look and things of that nature.
Yep. Physical.
Abandonment issues.
Yep.
That's deeper down the line. We're gonna get into that. But just to give you an idea of where a lot of
Capri
it
staying
comes
on
from.
track.
He is. He is. He is.
You got to wear
We gonna
sweaters.
do this
There's something
today.
about
Oh, we
fall.
gonna do this
Yeah,
today.
go
You
ahead,
got
dog.
me ready to hit the
You
challenge.
you're cooking. Go ahead, bro.
So what I'm endeavoring to do today is
I'm gonna get in trouble for hitting the counter.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't.
what I'm endeavoring to do is set a new standard about how we approach insecurities,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
Before we get into really like I said, the meat and potatoes surrounding this in what we're set out to do, I want to give, like I said again, 5 things that you can identify in insecure people.
Yes.
Okay. Number 1, they try to control or micromanage their partner's behaviors in order to help them feel more secure. Number 1. Number 2, they keep score of things like who texts who texts who first,
Wow.
or who makes the dates, or who cleans more.
Wow.
Number 3, they overanalyze people behaviors, right? E.g., looking for signs that someone is upset with them,
Yeah.
right? So they always ask the question, "Yo, you good with me? Like, what's you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
Number 4, they interpret other people's behavior as a form of rejection. And number 5, they struggle to enjoy being in the moment because they are worrying about what others think of them.
Wow.
So, can I add
Absolutely.
to that? Okay, so excessive clinginess.
Yeah.
Excessive clinginess, possessiveness.
Yeah.
Constant questioning, always questioning why you this, why you that, what have you. Defensive-ness.
Yes.
Look.
You being transparent. You being transparent. To see
Sometimes I'm very defensive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna pick a good one because it's a many of you. Low self-esteem.
Yeah.
People, of course, low self-esteem.
Yep.
So those type of things are dead giveaways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Want you to apply for this job? Want you to do this? Want you to? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they may display everything that they need to display around you at work or whatever, doing what they need to do, go above and beyond, and so on and so forth. But they scared to take that leap.
I would venture to say that most people don't know that they have insecurities.
Facts.
I would agree.
Yeah, I would venture to say that most people don't have insecurities. And the reason I wanted to share those characteristics that you can identify in people who are insecure, 1 is so you can be self-aware. Right.
Key.
But 2 is we are by no means saying that if you're dealing with an insecure person, you should by all means continue to deal with the insecure person. Right, because it's almost as if you're steady pouring into this container which has a constant leak in the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. So you really got to ask yourself these 2 questions when it comes to determining whether or not this is someone you want to help in supporting
Yeah.
them with their battle of insecurities.
Yeah.
Number one question is this: either there's nothing more that I feel that I can do, right? So you come to a place where I poured.
Yeah.
There's nothing more left for me to do in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Right. The second question is, there's nothing more I'm willing
Both are good.
to do.
Both are good, man, and it's amazing, right? I'm proud of us,
Mhm.
right? In a short period of time, the work that we've done and the foundational context that we've laid for this platform.
Mhm.
Because so often everything that we talk about comes back to two things: setting those standards,
Yep.
right? And a mature, sober approach to what you're looking for,
Yeah.
what you're willing to do and
Mhm.
not do, and then two, having the strong communicative foundation, if you will, in a relationship to navigate those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if we say we all have insecurities, right, you're never going to find anybody who is without them.
Correct.
Mhm.
But how are you going to approach them?
And so, and that's what I really wanted to get to, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you just said it. You're never. Well, we shouldn't say never. I don't want to make a blanket statement.
Yeah. Well,
The odds are
there you go.
you may not ever
There you go.
find somebody who's totally free of being insecure and having no insecurities.
Yeah, I think the thing is, a lot of times, sometimes people feel as though this person is more insecure than them. So when in a relationship or dealing with someone that feels that way, it's easier to walk away. Well, you know, you got too many issues or whatever the case may be. But what about those issues that you have? A lot of times a person may not point those issues
Facts.
out.
Facts, bro.
They may not say
Facts.
a word.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Because they're focused on dealing with theirs.
Oh,
They're focused on trying to improve themselves.
and I'm gonna tell you,
So,
you just pointed something out again. I think for most people, when they use this word, you're insecure or you have insecurities, I think it's low hanging fruit to deflect.
mhm, mhm.
Right? I think it's low hanging fruit to deflect. I even myself, right? And I think just going back to what you said, a part of what we always talk about in most of our topics, if not all of them, is being self-aware,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
right? I myself I became self-aware,
Okay.
right? And it was under fire.
Mhm.
Literally under
Most
fire.
of the time, that's how it is.
That's how it is, right?
How it is.
Because, and I wanted to address this negativity, this negative connotation
Look,
behind the
I'm
word.
under fire right now.
Stay under fire.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, not to cut you off,
No,
but
you
just,
good, you good, you good.
I'm under fire right now. So we all battle our,
Yeah,
but it's a part of life.
it's a part of life.
It's a part of life, and in order to get to that next level, these are the things you have to go through.
And this is why I'm saying it's important to be self-aware.
Absolutely.
Now you know that 6 out of every 7 people,
Yes.
85% of the population
Yeah.
deal in some sort of insecurity.
Yeah.
Now you have to go into relationships with a different approach, right?
Mhm.
So let me give you an example. When Di and I first met, right, there were some things that I was insecure about for myself because, and both of you guys have heard me say this before, I've never dealt with someone like a Di, female like a Di.
Gotcha.
And you know,
Mhm.
like she's just different.
She is definitely
You know what I'm saying?
in a wonderful way.
In a wonderful
In a
way.
wonderful way.
Some would say.
However, comma.
Right.
However.
So it took some getting used to for me,
Yes.
right? So there was a time when we were having a conversation, and she was like, "You just insecure."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wow!" Like I really got offended
Yeah.
by her calling me
It doesn't
insecure.
feel good.
It does not feel
Doesn't
good,
feel good.
right?
It definitely.
But I'm telling you, there was a trigger in that moment where I said, but if I'm insecure, what's so wrong with you helping me now be secure?
So
Ooh.
let me stop right there. Right?
Patience, baby. That's
Because
Yeah.
what that made me think of, right? So we talk about those standards, and if we pretty much, if you're talking about 80+%, we might as well just generalize and say virtually
Facts.
everyone that you meet is going to have an insecurity, right?
Mhm.
And you talked about it being a fact of life. I think it underscores the importance that we approach relationships at this point in life
Mhm.
with a real true understanding of, is there purpose in me relating with this person?
Yeah.
Because if there's purpose in it, then you're equipped to, right? And you're going to perceive, receive, and address the insecurities differently, right?
Mhm.
Understanding that when there's purpose with you and your wife.
Yeah.
So you're equipped, you're anointed, you're appointed at this time, this space, in this place to be able to be the balance, right?
Mhm.
That helps to alleviate the insecurities. And they go from being a point of irritation, right, to a literally an opportunity for God to show up in your relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's a whole different level of approaching
Absolutely.
things, because that perspective, right, allows you to see the insecurities differently.
Yes.
It's not she's tripping or she this or she's that. This is where I show up in her life and I offer value because she's already supremely capable. She already makes good money. She already knows how to balance a budget.
Right.
So this is where I lead.
Yes.
This is where I protect. This is where I step in and add
Mhm.
value in a way in which none of the men that came before me
Mhm.
have, because they didn't have the purpose that I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. So I would say one of the things that I think we all need to be careful of is using and calling our partners insecure,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
It's a trigger word.
It really is.
It's a trigger word.
It is. It is.
But again, if we already know,
Yeah.
right, 85%, generally speaking, you walking in the door with this
know
insecure,
this.
you know this.
Yeah.
It's
You know
no
this.
way around it.
Yeah.
So now you got to find a way to change your approach. So why would you go into the relationship knowing the person potentially may be dealing with insecurities and then call them out on their insecurities?
So this is what I wrote, even regarding the origin, right? To your point, insecure is a trigger word, right? Insecurities are a manifestation of fear.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And one of the the most powerful thing fear does
Looking
is
at my notes, man.
it masquerades, it hides
Mhm.
itself,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so when you look at it that way, because what we know and we understand is that fear perverts the truth.
Right.
And so insecurities have a way of saying this about you when it actually you're the complete opposite. But if you misappropriate if you don't understand the word, if you don't understand the origins, I'm a illustrator. So like I'm an analogy based person, right? And so I never forget this. It was years ago. I was at my house and I was out doing yard work, something I hate doing. And I was untangling this weed off the fence. And so I started pulling the weed off the fence over here, and I get down to the ground and I start pulling it up. And I keep pulling it up. And by the time I got to where the root of the weed was, it was 15 feet away from what was showing. You understand?
Mhm.
And it's like that with insecurity. So the insecurities show up as him or her tripping or nagging or pestering or wanting to be argumentative, when the root of the thing, and I know you're going to get to this, so I'm hoping I'm throwing you an alley-oop.
You definitely
The
are.
root of the thing is all the way over here in what
Yeah.
they saw growing up.
Yep.
Pause
Yep.
for calls.
Go ahead.
Someone just hit me. Check the mic. Let's check the mic because they're saying they can't hear us.
At all?
They're saying we sound faint. So I don't know if the pattern is correct.
I took the volume was kind of down. So test, mic check. Ask them to let him know
Let the priest know again if you know if we need to do something different, let them know again. But back to your point, right? That's why it's important to, instead of calling someone insecure, it's important to reassure of a person to help them now deal with this doubt and this fear.
Yes.
Right. We talk about the definition of reassurance, right? The action of removing someone's doubt and fear.
And making sure that you have the capacity
Yes.
and the interest to do so. So we did an episode a couple of months ago, right? And it was about the impact of fatherlessness on relationships, right? And so having previously being married to someone who grew up, right, without the presence of a father, you understand, you have to understand certain things.
Facts.
And have the purpose in that relationship to be able to endure.
Gotcha.
It's almost like a child, right? Like you would never think about. So we're all fathers, right? And so think about when you were when you're potty training your child, right? You don't go off or flick off on them because you understand where they are in their maturity,
right?
And this is part, and you love them through it versus, you know what, I'm out, I can't deal with this,
But
right?
you know, a lot of times I think people tend to think when they're in a space that you're supposed to be there as well. And that's far from the truth because we all have different paths that we take on in life. And with taking on those paths, we come across different things in life that may hinder us, slow us down, or either push us forward. And so many of us have different stories.
Definitely.
So I can't be here and expect because I meet someone that they're supposed to be here with me. A lot of times it's like, you know, depending on how you feel about that person, you can, you know, work with them to get them where you are. But, you know, it goes back to like what Bruce was saying earlier. If I'm feeling insecure, won't you help me to feel secure?
That is so good. And I think, you know, a part of our shows we're talking about is male perspective.
Yes.
Right. I think, and I know he gonna like what I'm about to say. I think a lot of times we as men get the short end of the stick when it comes to this.
It's undeniable.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we've been taught to not feel like females feel.
Yes.
Right. What
not feel at all for that.
Not feel at all.
That's what
I was being generous. You absolutely right.
Feel it all.
And this is what I'm saying. So understand, females, just because we don't show emotions doesn't mean we're emotionless.
It's true.
Right. And we also have feelings.
We do.
And while they're just feelings, they're feelings nonetheless.
Yeah.
Right. So my feelings, and I used to always, me and Dad always have this conversation when she talk about her feelings. I never question her feelings.
Right.
But yet I acknowledge her feelings.
Yes.
Right. Therefore, it allows me to now lean in. That's her favorite word. Lean in and try to find out what can I do to now reassure you or help you not feel the way you're feeling.
Yes. So here's what I think is critical. So I love this platform. I will say virtually on every episode, I'm a better version. I'm a better iteration of myself because of this dialogue that we have every single week that requires we demonstrate, because none of us are fake, phony, or frauds, right? So it requires when we have this dialogue to take a look at ourselves and see if we're actually doing what it is that we're talking about.
You gotta do the work. Gotta do the work, bro.
And so to your point, part of our platform is not just saying how we as men feel, right? Expressing what we think, but it's also holding each other accountable. So what we know is we grew up hearing, stop being a punk, stop crying, don't be scared. And that's caused us to suppress and press down our emotions and our feelings. But we also know that does not work for us, right? And so we have to first recognize, you know what, when we're upset, when we don't like that, you know what, I don't care for the way you said what you said. Right. I don't like the way that this made me think that you're taking me for granted. Right. Babe, I don't know. I'm scared. Right. All of those things that we never do and say, because to some extent we have to own the fact that we've conditioned women to think that we don't feel anything. Because that's how we came up.
And I think to your point, when you led off with talking about being insecure, right? And the whole concept of you having this alarm so you can feel secure in your home.
Yes.
Guess what? Men struggle with feeling secure.
We do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's at the hand of the female.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I think is important to understand is that we got to remember that, especially when we're in the infancy stages of a relationship,
Right.
that we're now establishing and building trust.
Right.
We're this trust, which comes along or comes from a pattern of being trustworthy. Right? So when I hear the word trustworthy, I'm thinking this is something I got to earn.
Yeah.
This is something you got to earn.
Right.
So in these insecurities, are we building each other up or are we tearing each other down?
You know, when it comes to like what you was just saying, to me, security, that whole security, the feelings and things of that nature, it's like that's women's home turf. And for us, it's an away game.
Ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Curious to see where you come from.
We're not.
It's not. We said they're comfortable in that space.
Yeah, right.
We're super uncomfortable in that space.
So they kind of dominate that area.
It's like fighting a fish in water.
Yeah. So one of the things that I know we talk about our daughters and this, that, and the other, and women and what have you. But like with my son, I'm talking with him, and I say I love you, the things that I didn't hear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm teaching him it's okay. You know what I mean? But I think also I'm reiterating it's okay to talk to your mom about this, that, and the other. Meaning,
I got you.
I'm trying to get him comfortable with talking to a female about things that are near and dear to him, or how he feels.
Yeah. You
see what I'm saying? So as he gets older, he's comfortable now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because when we ignore that, man, they grow up and they keep it bottled.
Go ahead. I want to get you this question, but go ahead.
So what I would say, and I absolutely hear what you're saying. The caveat to me is we're all shaped and molded by our experience, right? And so, be clear, I won't go into great detail, but I was 15 years old when my mother left for work one day and never came home, and she passed away.
Wow.
And the day that she went to
scarred you, bro, for life.
Absolutely left an indelible impression, because the day that she left for work, the morning that she went to work, I was being a hard-headed, I want to curse, right?
Yeah.
Just a hard-headed teenager. I was blown because she I'm not. I was blown because she woke me up. I had attitude. I was absolutely pissed off and irritated that I had to get up and help her do something, and it was the last time I ever saw her.
So I'm gonna circle back. I'm gonna keep.
So,
no, go ahead.
I'm gonna bring it home.
Yep, go ahead.
So from that, I learned to never let things go unsaid, because I never, at 15 years old, I wasn't mature enough.
Right.
I think I'm gonna hand it off. I wasn't mature enough to say,
go ahead,
Ma, I love you and I appreciate you. Now, here's the thing, because you talked about how we do that with our mothers. So my father passed away when I was 20. But by that time, I learned to never let things go unsaid, because you don't get the opportunity. So even with y'all, if you give me credit, right, to how we bridge the gap and how we change this, even for us as brothers, I always say I love and appreciate y'all.
Go ahead.
But bros,
I want to get you this question.
That's why I was saying the obstacles that we come across in life, some can hinder us and some could push us forward.
Facts.
Yours pushed you forward.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
That's what I be trying to get people to understand. We all had different.
And wear a sweater every episode. Keep going.
We all have different experiences in life.
Facts.
So it's all in how we embrace and handle those experiences.
Yes.
Some experiences, pull you back.
Yep.
Some push you forward.
True.
Yours just so happened to push you forward. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's how I look. I look at things. I try to, even though you guys know I can be this way or that way at times. But I like to get to the root. I like to get to the root of things, right?
Yeah.
And then getting to the root of things, once you dig all the way deep down to where it is, now you can say, okay, that's the cause. That's what it is. Let's go ahead. It's like surgery. Let's go ahead and get that out.
So that both of you guys actually spoke directly in one shape or another to Colette's question.
Okay.
Right. By the way, guys, y'all make sure you jump on YouTube.
Please do.
Make sure you comment. We want to hear from you guys. If y'all have questions, we definitely want to hear your questions. Colette said, so from a woman's perspective, how do we approach these conversations with our significant other without setting off triggers? Great
Phenomenal
question.
Phenomenal question.
Great question.
Phenomenal question.
And let me give you a response, right? Let me ask you this question, Colette. Have you ever asked your significant other, right? Where is this insecurity coming from? Like what is it all about? Let's talk about what is now the approach is key.
Yeah.
You have to go into this conversation being open and really wanting to know the root of what this is all about.
And and not for nothing, right? But your posture.
Absolutely.
Right. And so
body language is
everything.
I mean, it's about
it's another form of communication.
Yes.
Over the weekend, I had a very, very tough conversation. Right. It was some tears involved, right? It was some raw. It was a matter in which I missed the mark. I erred, right? I overestimated.
Yeah.
I wasn't as considerate as I wanted to be, but it was my posture. Because here was the thing. First of all, I welcome the opportunity to hear and learn about the perspective, because my intention is to lean in and grow and get better, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't listening to be like, well, you don't. It was, give me the information that I need to show you just how much I love and appreciate.
And I think this is a good time to get into the types.
Let's do it.
Of insecurities.
Let's go.
Right? Because Colette, you asked that question. I think it's a great question. Two things to keep in mind, Colette. Okay. First of all, your significant other has a great responsibility in not only being self-aware, but self-healing.
Yep.
And then you also have a responsibility of helping them heal.
Yes.
Right? I can recall one night, it's around when me and Di first started dating. I was at church practicing. Woo, that thing just hit me a moment. Woo! And I called her and we were singing this song. I can't even remember the song, but the song had in it something about love you till you whole.
Wow.
Right? But he'll love you until you're whole. Right? So something triggered in me that said, there's something that I'm responsible for as it relates to this young lady being healed and whole.
Like Christ loved the church.
Like Christ loved the church. And at that moment, it was such a weight.
Yes.
Right? It was like, it wasn't burdensome, but it was like, okay, I gotta now exercise.
Yeah.
I gotta exercise to be able to carry this weight.
So the more things change, the more things stay the same.
Facts.
Right? And all things come full circle back to you, whether it be man or woman, you owe it to yourself to sit down and be open, honest, mature, right? And sober-minded about what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And at the very least, I would suggest that a prerequisite for anybody that you involve yourself with, there has to be the common denominator that this person is willing to love, care for you, and demonstrate in a certain way, right? Because if being right is more important than being of service, is not going to work. If them trying to get you to see what they're saying is more important than understanding what you're saying, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
If there's not a moral compass that says, I need to show up for this person consistently when they need me, right? To your point, Caprice, right? Because we've learned enough to know that 50-50 is an illusion, because sometimes it's 90-10, sometimes it's 70-30. It might be financial, it might be energy, it might be emotional intelligence, it might be it might be spiritual understanding, where right I come from a grounded 2-parent household where I saw my mother and father love each other, but she comes from a household where it was an abusive, and I can say, you know, babe, because here's my chance to lead, right, and to provide understanding, and it's not just dollars and cents, because this is what it should look like, and this is what it should feel like.
So help me lean into because I want to help Colette today.
Okay.
All right. She followed up with, she said, we can normally, no, she said, he kind of danced around the answer.
Okay.
So Colette, he would, and it's kind of.
What's the question again? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. The question was, so from a woman's perspective, how do I approach these conversations with our significant others without setting off triggers?
And I'm assuming she's asking, so Colette, is the question specifically, how do you speak to or address his insecurities?
But
your
right. So help us understand. We want to make sure we answer your question.
Insecure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Because I was going to say, because me personally, I would think if you're trying to address someone or pull something out of someone to find out or have this type of conversation, you probably should have a conversation where you open up first and give things that you might have went through or you had to deal with or so on and so forth coming up, to kind of put them in that softer space.
So I'm gonna give you,
what I mean?
I'm gonna give you what would help me. And I think we should go around the table and do that, because one of us may have, if we're not saying the same thing, we might have an answer for it. Right. So what would help me, Colette, is if you approach me with the pen and pad. I say, I'm just here to listen. I want to know what is causing this insecurity and how I can help you be more secure. I have a pen and pad. I just want to hear from you because I love you. And I want the best for us.
Right.
I think if you approach me like that, because what you got to understand is men are not conversational by nature. Right. We you said it earlier. We'll suppress everything.
We like Denzel Washington's Glory. We taking a whipping. We like
exactly.
We're not saying anything.
Nothing.
But to your point, like what you were saying, I mean, just me, right? I think that if I'm with my woman and she starts to open up to me and let me know things that, like I just said before, or what have you, and then start, asking me, maybe, I think by that time, because I'm trying to console or trying to be there and, this, that, and the other, I'm probably in the space like, oh, whoa, how did I get here?
Right.
But I'm opening up.
Yeah.
And now we're both bonding off of that.
Right.
Because I'm revealing more as she revealed more. And it's not necessarily tick for tag or anything like that, but it's the bearing your soul to one another.
Okay.
When you get in that space, especially when you start dating,
I got a word for that too.
Yeah. You it's like the who's gonna be the first person to say I love you or that type of thing.
It's a vulnerability trigger.
Yes.
And yes.
And
to that end, you have to know who you're partnered with.
Facts.
Because there are some instances where bearing your soul, if we're not cautious, could come across insensitive.
Yeah.
Because you sound tone deaf. So for instance, if we go with that illustration of me growing up in a 2-parent household that was very Cosby-like in a sense. Not to say that it was perfect, right? But I didn't know anything was
right.
He lived in the suburbs.
You was happy.
If you're in love, you're relating with someone who may have come from a dysfunctional background, and you start talking about your background and your experience and what it was like, you could sound tone deaf, right? Or like you can't. So a couple of things that I would say. I used to work with a lady who shared with me one day.
Keep a story, bro.
I'm a storyteller. I went to go see her one day, and she was like, "Hey, I really, really respected her." She was like, "Hey, I got to run. My husband and I have a counseling appointment." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." right? I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, and I literally, out of ignorance, said, listen, I'm gonna be praying for y'all. And she laughed and she said, no. She said, there's nothing wrong. She said, we go to counseling as a matter of healthy maintenance.
Make sure the things
The
are
same,
right.
the same way you don't wait till your engine
Absolutely.
is locked up to
Facts.
get the oil change, right?
Facts.
And so I would say to anybody is do the work in your relationship proactively, not reactively.
So you still haven't answered the question.
I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
back
All right.
because she's asking how she do it, right? And so to me, it's a matter of approaching that person in a posture of loving curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
not being accusatory, right?
Yeah.
You
yeah,
then
Yeah.
it is, hey, listen, baby, call it.
I want to know.
This is what I'm experiencing.
Give me the answer.
This is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
What I don't want to do is make any assumptions about where it's coming from. Right? I need you to know I love you, and there's nothing more important to me than the health and well-being of our relationship. Let's talk about this, right?
The Bible, there's a book that we read that says a soft answer turneth away wrath.
Come on.
Right?
Those those things oftentimes in this dysfunctionism, right? It's by the time it comes out, right? That insecurity has rubbed you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you're gonna be back, or why you this,
Mhm.
or why are you wearing that,
Right.
or how come you always, or why were you in that dude's face? It's
Mhm.
such, you know what I mean? It's such negative energy, and that energy,
Yep.
right, is what does us a disservice.
I think a lot of times, honestly, people forget who they're in a relationship with,
Or they never knew who the
Or
hell
they
they were in
never
a
knew.
relationship.
Woo!
Right.
Y'all going where I was
That's-
ready to go. Y'all going where I was ready to go.
That's the
Yeah.
real.
Y'all going where I was
So-
literally getting ready to go, bro.
So, I mean, if I'm involved in a relationship with a woman and I know she loves me and I love her or what have you, I have to keep in the forefront of my mind when she comes to me that this is for the betterment of us,
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yep.
you know, and her as well. It can't be. Why you always asking? Why? Damn, I can't. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Because
it can't be that.
Because here's the thing, Caprice. Insecurities could be my own insecurities.
Right.
But insecurities, because I've met your representative, could be insecurities that I've now discovered because of who I know, who I've come to know. Right?
Yes.
So again, and this is why I gave the example about me and Di initially, right? I'm like, whoa, like, hold up. Like, I do have some insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Partially why I'm insecure is because my own insecurity. But the other part of why I'm insecure is because of some of the things that I see that you are demonstrating to me.
Right.
So we both have now a responsibility to again reassure security.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
So if I get into a relationship with, again, 85% of people going in, we know they dealing with something.
Right.
So if I go into a relationship, and I'll just use me and Doc, and I know she don't mind, right? We dating, she dating, you know, I see some things, some signs show up, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, do I want to deal with this? Like, you got to be honest with yourself, right?
That's real.
And there's some things that cause you to, at some point, to say, I ain't trusting what I'm seeing.
I love you for your transparency, right? So the sake of the audience doesn't necessarily know. So Bruce's nickname is Choir Boy. Bruce is a phenomenal singer and entertainer. He's a phenomenal minister. He's a phenomenal entrepreneur and presenter and all of these things, right? So part of your previous life, right, young rock star, right? You might have moved in a way in which intimidated or caused insecurities, right?
Facts.
For a lot of women.
Facts.
Except for we talked about before in our pre-production, we talked about us as men who we seek out strong women.
Yeah.
So when you meet somebody that's really equally matched with you, fellas, are you okay what it feels like.
Yeah,
and you handle
that's
it.
the question. That's the real question.
And you handle
Yeah,
it.
because here's the thing. I'm being totally transparent, right? And I know my wife won't mind.
Yeah.
And you can attest to this, bro. That is one of those females that, oh, you playing that game? I'm playing that game too. Then
I know how to play that.
You can move like we move.
She can move like we move.
Like we move.
You know what I mean? So with me knowing that, I'm now to myself saying, okay, wait a minute. I know there's some things I don't even trust about myself.
Yep.
So now if I'm dealing with a female that's moving like I'm moving,
that's the funny part. When you see yourself in the woman that you love,
listen,
and it's already too late,
bro. It's too late. It's too late,
You
bro.
love her.
You love her, bro. You already in. So now you gotta, again, that goes back to the two questions, right? Am I willing, and how much do I have the capacity?
But therein comes the balance, right?
Yeah.
I think so, Colette. If you niggas look, we're here for you.
Yeah,
so you need us to dig deep.
She said, she said we good. She said she loved that
because she
loved the posture piece.
That's the balance, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about how we grow up divorced from our emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we love a woman, we rub off on each other either for the good or for the not so good. So there are a lot of you ladies. So it's funny because the word demure has been out there, right, in the social media sphere recently. There's a lot of ladies who are laid back and peaceful and demure, and then you get with a man who causes you to be real rah-rah and argumentative. So we have the ability to rub off on each other.
Yep.
And when you're partnered with the right person in purpose, ladies, you all create an environment. I'm not talking about the safe space. That's the cliche stuff. But there is a chemistry that lets us know that it's okay for us to take our armor off.
Yeah.
Right. And be vulnerable.
But we need y'all to recognize that.
Fact.
So when a man starts to take those layers of protection off, you gotta recognize that, because if you don't, he's gonna start picking those pieces back up.
Well, here's the thing that's incumbent upon us, though, right? Is gentlemen, make sure that you have a woman that knows what the hell to do with that.
True.
And to add on to that, to piggyback, if she doesn't, you need to have some dialogue about how, in fact, she can be better in assisting you be better.
And say what we need, which is something that we're not good.
Not what we want.
Don't be afraid to speak
what we
up.
need.
Don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like I said, this feeling thing, that's women's home turf. That's women's home turf. But if you know that woman loves you, without a doubt, you know she loves you. Now it's time for you to become comfortable and take that armor off and then put it out.
No, you said something so key. So y'all gotta know. We're looking down at our phone. Our executive producer is texting us the whole time.
Right.
She said something that's hilarious but real. She said we don't want a sucker. And that's all the way real, because there's a balancing act for us as men. For being valuable. I mean, for being vulnerable.
Thank you,
but
guys.
don't go too far. Don't go too far. Because you can't be a simp. You can't be a punk.
And that's the thing, right? That's the thing with men. I think, ladies, you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. If you want us to be vulnerable or you don't.
Here's what doesn't.
Because in my opinion, this is my opinion.
Right.
We can't be both.
It is difficult. Here's what does not exist.
Minimum to be both.
Go ahead. I got something to come.
Here's what doesn't exist. A streetwise thug with good credit who can move in corporate America, that's gonna help you change diapers and clean up, but beat somebody up in the streets, right?
I got some. I got a good one for you.
We can't be all things. We can't be all things.
So to sum that up,
be both, bro. But here's the thing. Right before you ask this,
go ahead.
In fact, let me say this. If in fact you are fortunate enough to find a guy who's both, you better darn know he's a keeper.
Here's the thing.
He's a keeper, Doc.
Here's the thing.
All of us balance that out.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It's Clark Kent, and then there's Superman.
Okay. Speak on it.
That's good. That's good. That's good, Caprice.
Superman, and you're not going to find, that's who Vic was just described. You're not gonna find Superman. I'm sorry. Superman was impersonating Clark Kent. Clark Kent wasn't impersonating Superman.
Wear a sweater
So-
every damn Friday.
Who is he? Somebody has clone Caprice, y'all.
Hey, fellas, am I growing?
Go ahead.
Absolutely,
Keep
bro.
going, Caprice.
Absolutely.
Real talk though, so we can be protectors, we can stand on business with certain things or what have you, but at the same time, we cannot, like you said, oh, I like that thug or this or that. You can't listen. You can't. It's not.
So here's what
You're
I
gonna
would
be
say.
bailing somebody out, and you're gonna be pissed off talking to your girlfriend back and forth about that if that's what you want.
Here's what I would say, right? Because
I agree, Dad, and I was going to correct myself. Go ahead.
because we are all of those things. However,
Never mind.
However, because all of us, if we keep it above, we've all moved in the streets, right? We're all successful in our careers.
That's stupid, yeah.
She is, yeah. I don't even want to look there because she's gonna throw me off my track, right? We've all moved in the streets. I talked about how I admire both of you, specifically you, right? Because it's not easy for us growing up. So if you all don't know, geographically, we're just outside of Washington, D.C. It's not easy to necessarily come from where we come from, to move in the circles we still move in, right? To love the women that we love out loud, to talk about Jesus and our faith and our children, and still have enough resolve so that somebody don't test you in the streets. Like, that's a whole lot of balancing to do, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? To talk about being vulnerable when we don't necessarily feel like we can do that.
Right. So you can know. So a friend Washington said, "No, I disagree. You can be both. You can.
I agree. I agree.
You can be from the street, but it does not mean that you're in the street
Or of the
streets. Right. It's a difference. You can't have a perfect gentleman, and that Ghost is a fictional character. That's on TV. You can't have somebody that's, oh, hello, how are you doing today? And conducting business.
I got a few
and
questions.
then you jump and you this ruthless gangster.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And those
I mean,
extreme.
Those are
Unless you're a
extreme.
sociopath.
That's
Right. I'm gonna say, so that's if you got split personality disorder,
Yeah.
possibly.
So Dad just reminded me, and she's right. So let me correct what I said. You can meet both, right? It would behoove you if you meet a man who possesses both the capacity to apologize.
Yeah.
And as she said, I'll put it in her words, not mine. The capacity to tell you shut up.
Facts.
You might be on to something with the guys.
Facts.
Right? Somebody who can open up, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
My cousin Ennis said, well, we can have a safe space to come to you, be vulnerable, give you all of our deepest insecurities.
Absolutely.
And still feel good about that you won't later bring those insecurities up to me to now damage what I've expressed to you.
Right.
So you said something I think that's so critical, right? No one has the heart of the king more than the queen, right? But there's a posture, there's a position, there's a understanding, right? There's a strategy where she understand how much her position actually helps rule the kingdom, right? And it's a deference. It's a knowing when to rub his head and when to kick him in the butt and say, you know what I mean? You are the king and such and so right. And I'm only saying that because, ladies, if you're able to experience a man putting down his armor, then you understand the power that you bring in your submission. And I'm actually talking about the opposite of being silent, right? Of not having an opinion. It's knowing and understanding that you have the way to move us in a muse-like fashion, like nothing else on the face of the earth.
Turn the heart
God,
of kings.
and sometimes more than God.
Turn the heart of kings, bro.
Because she has the ear of God concerning you, right? where she has the ability to speak to you and receive it in a way in which sometimes we can't hear from God because we disassociate ourselves from our emotions.
Yeah.
And so I'm about to go ahead.
Charlie Angel
Go ahead.
said, is it so wrong to let her know that the armor is off? Absolutely not. But let me caution my women, because there are sheeps in lamb's wool these days. And you gotta be careful, ladies. Just because a man cries in front of you doesn't make them vulnerable.
Right.
They may just be feeling something that they haven't felt before.
A wolf in sheep clothing.
That wolf in the sheep clothing, bro.
Charlie, the other thing that I would say to you, so it's funny, right? Game of Thrones has been out for however long. I just started watching it a few months ago.
No, he tripping. He tripping, bro.
I don't watch TV like that.
Oh,
Charlie, what I would say to you is that a warrior only takes off his armor when he feels completely safe. It's when he typically
you good?
It's typically
you good? Bro, are you good? Are you good?
That's good.
It is. And so if we look at that literal context, Charlie, here's what you as a woman have to be willing to create and endure. The environment in which a warrior feels safe taking off his armor, you have to realize how many walls he's behind when he has the luxury of doing so. He's in a castle, which is on the other side of a moat,
I'm gonna add to that,
which is behind walls that are 100 feet tall. There are other people standing guard, and he feels like the enemy is at such a distance that, you know what, I can actually rest for a second.
I'm gonna caution you again. If he just taken off his helmet and not his breastplate, you gotta be careful.
Where the heart is.
They
right.
Father, you can fight with your helmet on.
You can fight.
You can fight with your helmet on.
So and Charlie Angel say, I don't like that. What is too far to be vulnerable? This comes off as disingenuous. Exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
So again, ladies, this is where your standards come into play.
Yes.
When you set a standard,
you
immediately can identify if they taking off the breastplate and or the helmet.
To your point, right? It's not just your standard, ladies, but again, it's back to the purpose, because there are men out there who come out of the box prepared, completely in touch with their feelings.
Hey, Colette, you showing Vic a whole lot of love. And I don't like it.
There are men who are completely in touch with their feelings and emotions and vulnerable, right? And willing to say, babe, I don't like this. Now, when there comes instance and there's a noise downstairs, he might call the police. Or he might look at you and say, what we gonna do? Right? Those two dudes, right? Or the dude that's naturally gonna be the aggressor and the go-getter, they aren't naturally.
Hey, yo, they loving you today, bro.
Yeah.
It's Nia said somebody wipe Vic down. He is on fire today.
What's up, Nene?
I agree.
That's my day one.
I agree.
Let
me, because we're running up on time, let me give these types of insecurities. Okay. Number one, write this down, because, and the reason I'm saying write it down, because one, you'll retain it more. And then secondly, you can be self-aware. Okay. Number one, self-esteem. Number two, social insecurities.
Yes.
Okay. Fears about being judged or not fitting in.
Yes.
Okay. Relationship insecurities. All right. We talk about trust issues, fear and abandonment. Okay. Academic professional insecurities.
Yes.
Performance anxiety. Okay. I can share this with you guys. My wife, this one is absolutely her. Perfectionist. And when I tell you, man, I'm like, Charlie, put the work up. And I'm like, stop volunteering. Stop
every call.
I'm sick of you. Right? Financial insecurity.
Yes.
Right? Emotional insecurity. Okay. Personal competence insecurity.
Yes.
These family and background insecurity. Those are all types of insecurities. Y'all can touch on any of those if you like.
Yeah.
But those are the types of insecurities.
Right. Abandonment.
Charlie said, I've read too fast. You want me to go back, Charlie? Let me slow down. Number one, self-esteem. This is our show. We can slow down. Number two, social insecurities. Okay, we talk about fear about being judged or not fitting in. Right? Public speaking. That's an insecurity for a lot of people. For most folks would rather take a bullet than get in front of an audience.
You're right. You're right.
Absolutely right.
Relationship insecurities. Right? That's when you're dealing with trust issues.
Yes.
Whether trust has come from your past experience or whether trust hasn't been built from your current experience.
Yes.
Right? Academic and professional insecurities. Okay. Financial insecurities, right? Worries about financial stability or future security. Major. Okay. Emotional insecurity.
Yep.
That's a big one, I believe. Fear about showing emotions or being open. We just talked about that. This vulnerability.
Yes.
Right. Just talked about that. Personal competence insecurities. Right. The skill proficiency, concerns about not being skilled or knowledgeable enough.
That's good on a lot of levels.
A lot of levels, man.
Yes.
A lot. And again, and again, I know my wife is totally okay with me talking about this. That's her. Yeah. Right? Where she wants to get it right.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep.
And she'll have an answer and a response.
Yes.
And because they don't respond back to what she thinks it should be, she feels some type of way about that. Right? What I'm saying is, as long as you know that, you can address it.
Ooh, that's good all by itself. Right.
You follow what I'm saying? Yes. So being self-aware, and just this week we had a conversation about that, right? Where she talked about, you know what, Bruce, you were right. Give them the answer. How they respond, it's on them. I did my part. Right. And you got to recognize that.
Absolutely.
Right? The other thing, family and background insecurities, feelings of inadequacy related to family expectation or history.
That's a major.
Major, bro.
Yeah.
Major.
We talked about that.
We talked about it. So again, these are just types of insecurities that most people deal with, if not all people. I wanted to kind of lay that out for you guys so you would know. Go ahead, bro.
Let me add a little on to it. So you have the insecurities of fear of abandonment.
Yes.
Fearing that someone is going to leave you.
Yes.
And especially when you're in a relationship or what have
you. Yep. I want to touch on that real quick too.
Okay. Trust issues, difficulties trusting partners, and so on and so forth. You're insecure about something because one person lied to you throughout that relationship, and now you don't, you know what I mean?
Trustworthiness, bro.
Right. We spoke on the possessiveness a little earlier, or what have you. Of course, there's the jealousy thing where you feel like what you was just saying, you don't feel as though you meet.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Low self-esteem, negative self-talk. You know what I mean?
Major.
That's a major. That there is major. And something that we haven't touched on because we talk about relationships and things like that. You gotta please look at and pay attention to your children when it comes to that.
Robert has a really good question too.
You have to. That self-esteem thing with kids is major. Major.
Facts.
You want them to be positive and major contributors to society. You have to pour into them and reassure them that they are okay.
Yep.
It ties back to a self-awareness though, because you can only pour out what you contain. Like, so yeah.
So
yo, you good? Yo, you good, bro? Yo, so you got the sweater?
Yeah.
What, you got the chain? I don't know what
You got the cap.
I know what's happening tonight.
But, don't compare yourself to anyone. You know what I mean? Because when you start comparing yourself, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know
Never
what I mean?
okay to compare,
Never.
but you definitely should always compete.
Yeah. So
And
I'm gonna cut it off. So
no,
you can go ahead.
and to that end, what I would say, because that is part of what causes insecurities,
Mhm.
especially if we take a look at what a lot of people's reaction is to social media, where you only see what's right, or this appearance or this illusion, of grandeur regarding what people are doing, how they're moving, and what they're accomplishing. It can literally cause insecurities all by itself, right? So be careful about what it is that you're looking at. Be mindful. We are what we eat, right? And again, why we're so grateful for this circle, because iron really sharpens iron.
Yes.
So get around people, that demonstrate the characteristics, the healthy relationships. We always say how you look up to you and die, not because you're necessarily perfect, but you seek that, for the way that y'all love each other.
You know, family can put that pressure on you too. And you start feeling insecure because
I got it.
Putting that pressure on you.
You're absolutely right.
You know?
I got a comment. I like this too. It said, it's not important for me to prove a point, but rather important to prove my band.
I think
that's
really,
so
really
good. Right. And with
really
that
good.
being said, what I want to do with these last few minutes is I want to dig into these insecurities in relationship.
Okay.
A lot of times, if not all the time, they come from trust issues.
Yes.
Whether I can't trust you or whether I've experienced a level of not being able to trust someone for one reason or another.
That's good.
Right. So there's the impact of insecure can watch this lead to excessive jealousy or mistrust in relationship, concerns about a partner's fidelity or intentions can create tension and conflict.
Stay right there for a second, because Robert, you asked what I believe is a phenomenal question. Robert said, which insecurity ranks highest on the list? And so you just talked about infidelity, and I think that would be a lot of people.
I think that,
however,
trust.
I was going to say trustworthiness. Absolutely.
I'm respectfully challenged.
Okay.
And what I'm going to say is,
I'm team Caprice today, bro. You got the sweater on.
Hear me out. Is all of them and none of them. And what I mean by that is going to depend on the person. But if we go back to, in essence, the insecurity is the fruit, not the root.
Okay.
And so we get hung up on the insecurity.
That's good.
And what it looks like, and what it sounds like, and how it bothers us. Where at the root of it is a deep-rooted fear that manifests itself in the insecurity. So we get, as couples, we get stuck on how it sounds and what he's saying and what she's saying, and we never deal with why they are acting out.
How he sound, how it sounds.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So what sound doesn't necessarily mean that's how it is.
Exactly.
But okay.
So what I'm hearing is that you're saying, no matter the insecurity, acknowledge it, and then learn how to manage it.
Otherwise, it's just like putting Ambisol on a tooth, but never getting the tooth dealt with. You never deal with the cavity. You never feel it. It's like giving blood pressure medication to somebody without saying you need to lose weight. No, the reason why your blood pressure is high is because you're 50 pounds overweight. You eat too much. You understand what I'm saying?
Back to what I said about digging deep, performing that surgery.
You have to dig in. So we always get caught on the insecurity. And we never get to the foundational issue and root, which I believe is the work of the enemy that keeps us from leaning in and loving each other in the way we're supposed to.
And that's exactly where I'm going, because ultimately what happens is when you're in the state of dealing and managing with this insecurity, what you do is you lose the ability to properly communicate. So if I asked the question early on, have you asked what is the cause?
Exactly.
Right. And have you gone to him like, hey, I really want to know what's going on. What is making you feel so insecure? You got to begin to have dialogue about why you're insecure and how I can better help you manage being secure.
Robert, that's your answer. Robert said The abandonment insecurity is what triggered my ex to call it quits on me. Don't forget to discuss this. And so if we're open and honest, and we got to move kind of quickly, like I feel like we should circle back to this.
Jeez.
Robert, understand,
So
right?
good.
There's a great deal of Black women specifically who have dealt with abuse, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, verbal,
social,
or sexual.
Yeah, sexual,
or social,
social, absolutely.
And grew up in fatherless houses, right? And so again, it's important understanding, right, your purpose in that man or that woman's life, and are you truly equipped to love them to and through what it is that they need to come out of?
So I got something to add to Robert. So you said the abandonment insecurity is what brought on the divorce, right? Or what have you. There's someone that we all know that's going through that right now. Judge Mathis. He said his wife felt abandoned because he was always out with his buddies and doing this and doing that, not just hanging with his buddies, having fun, but also doing community activist work, and all of those different things. That
So-called and everything else except the priority.
Yes. So, I mean, you can't leave a woman sitting there alone in the house just because you're doing positive things or great things out in the community and think that she's okay or she's going to be okay with that. That's one of those things, man. That's easy. It's easy for that type of thing to happen because you feel in your heart you're doing the right thing. Right. I'm out here and I'm serving and I'm doing this, and so, she's left behind.
Exactly. So, Robert, I would ask you this: if you feel led to, let us know, did you have a conversation with her prior to her leaving, trying to, just letting her know that you had an insecurity of abandonment?
Not for nothing, Robert, but so much respect for you for being that transparent in this forum, right? So iron sharpens iron. That's
gotta
what
get
it's
to
going
the root
to
of
take
it. Yes.
For us as men to move past, right, and feel comfortable taking off our armor, especially in front of each other.
So let's try and give me some kudos now. Whatever, Colette.
Too late. So let's tie a bow on this thing, Bruce. So go ahead, finish up, and then I'm gonna come back with a few ways to overcome insecurities, and we can close it up.
No, I think that's exactly where. Let me see what I have on my notes. Because I think that's a great place to land this thing, man.
Ultra prepared. You got bullet points.
You
got bold print. We do our homework. We do our homework, y'all.
Listen, because I just felt like this was such a needed conversation, right? A needed topic, because I think we have gotten to a point, and we've talked about this in even some of our earlier episodes, where we use these words without understanding. Not only understanding of the word itself, but understanding on how to better manage these words. We talk about these new norms, right? So on this particular episode, we say, hey, listen, there is an approach for this insecurity, right? Like I told you, when Diana first came to me with you insecure, I'm like, huh? I felt some type of way. But I also acknowledged the point that I was insecure. And what was so encouraging for me is that she did the same, right? We now had this open dialogue about not only my insecurities, but her insecurities. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's the taking off of the armor.
Taking the armor off.
A lot of people don't do it.
To your point, right? So one of my favorite movies, The Usual Suspect, Kaiser Sose, right? The greatest world the devil ever pulled off was convincing the world that he didn't exist, right? Our greatest enemies hide in plain sight, but we don't understand. And here's the thing: you can't defeat the enemy if you don't know what you're fighting. And so we get caught up, like I said, thinking she's tripping without understanding that fear is at the root, driving these insecurities, never deal with it. And so a few ways that we can overcome insecurities. One, identify your insecurities. What's the origin of them, which requires
where's
us
it coming from?
Doing work. And it's not always easy. If anybody has ever been through counseling, many people have the tendency to run, because you have to go back and realize
that's that Band-Aid off,
or deal with, right? Or think back to the deep-rooted stuff that we bury,
Yep.
right? The
Yep.
things that we have that happened or we saw or we
Mhm.
heard that were painful in the recesses of our mind. So, right. So, one, identify your insecurities. Number two, link. Those insecurities come from feelings in your past. When we understand where they come from, it's easier to link it to the present and understand why we're reacting the
Facts.
way that we are.
Facts.
So one is identify, two is the link, three is to understand. The feelings we experience before can and will create negative self-beliefs that stick with us. These beliefs can control our thoughts,
Yes.
which impact our
Yes.
feelings, actions, or
Yo,
reactions, whatever it
before
is you're saying to
continue-
yourself.
Before you continue, I want you to continue. Dad told me the other day, I asked her a question. He said, you better buy that thing. You better listen. Don't let that thing fester in your head.
And we do that. We entertain it. We begin to speak to it, and we declare it over ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep. We embrace things all too often. So one is identify, two is the link, three is to understand,
Mhm.
four is to rebuild. The most effective way to overcome insecurities is to break down the negative beliefs and then rebuild positive ones in their place. This helps build self-confidence, which again, right, is understanding that just because my dad left doesn't mean that the man that I love is going to leave. Man, Kelly Clarkson has this powerful song. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna put it. Made me cry. It was talking about. I'm gonna play it for you. It was basically talking about how
real men don't cry, bro.
her father.
You cry?
I'm a real girl dad, and I put myself in that position where this girl was saying where she struggled to believe that her husband would stay because her father didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so to rebuild, the fifth one is do different. Learn from the missteps and mistake of your past and avoid repeating them. For God's sake, when you see how what you did previously didn't work for you, the last thing that you want to do is keep recreating that. And last two, approach your insecurities with curiosity. We avoid them typically because it's painful. But if you never ever, so if you have a wound, right, you got to clean it out, right? It hurts before it heals and gets better.
And on that point, before you go to your next one, you talk about this fear. That's part of that, right? Fear will always lead to avoidance.
Facts.
Fear will always lead. We run away from it. The thing you fear, you will always attempt to avoid. And that's another sign that you know I gotta lean into this.
It is true. The last one is tell your partner about your insecurities. For God's sake, please free him or her for feeling like they're the culprit for what they're dealing with. That's weak to make somebody, a man or a woman, think that they're responsible for what your mother or father did not do, or what you saw, or what you heard, or what you witnessed. That's not cool.
I can recall countless times.
Yeah.
I said, babe, it's not about you.
Yep.
Right? Yep. What I'm dealing with is about me.
Yep.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest things to get done.
And it's one of the hardest things to do.
The worst thing that we can do is have our good choice suffer for what our bad choice did.
But you'll see, that's key.
The worst thing we can do is make our good choice suffer for what our bad choice did.
Because a person can come into your life that's
I'm about to slap
you, man. I'm gonna say it one more again. The worst thing we can do is make our good choice suffer for what our bad choices did.
Right. And I used to say this a lot, right? Don't make me pay for the other person's groceries. You know what I mean? So this person carries on with X, Y, and Z, and then they're gone and they're out of your life. And now here I got to go through X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Because of what they did.
Yeah.
But when you're with someone, especially somebody that you love and care for, whatever, you work on those things and you go through those things together. So, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm not going to sit here.
We've been the King Study Board.
Absolutely.
Just know that anytime we sit before you, everything that we talk to you all about are things that we are actively applying to our own lives. There's no hypocrisy over here. We love you. right? All of our dialogue is about hoping that we create new norms as it pertains to how Black men and Black women love one another. We encourage you to do it out loud. We'll be doing it with you. We'll be doing it for the sake of others. Please remember to like, to share, and to follow. You can find us on Facebook at the King's Cutting Board Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at the King's Cutting Board 20.
We get some new equipment. We get some new equipment.
We are upgrading.
Yeah, we stepping it up, Doc.
We want to make sure that we bring a quality product
Absolutely.
to each and every one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Victor Vaughn. The gentleman to my left has been
Bruce Bailey, Choir Boy.
The gentleman to my left has been
Caprice.
Man, wear a sweater every Friday.
Every
Friday,
bro.
especially during the fall. Listen, bro. Listen, we talk about iron sharpening iron. This is not to be funny or anything, but I love the positive impact we all have on each other as men. And so, fellas out there, listen, make sure you surround yourself with men that hold you accountable, right? Who demonstrate the characteristics that you're looking for and help you get better. We owe that to ourselves, our children, and the women that we love. Our executive producer, the wind beneath our wings, the boss of bosses, the one who always tells us what to do, Coach Princess D. We appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Friday. Y'all have a great week, and we will see y'all next week. And remember, hey, listen,
all we want is some peace
and
a peace.
So peace. Later, y'all.